Welcome once again to Musings by Danon. If you're new here, my name is Danon. I've been watching anime since 1985, and I'm currently reading over 500 manga or light novel series. As someone who's read a lot of manga and seen a lot of anime, as well as studied genre and story structure, I feel I have a pretty good grasp on which manga are worth your time, depending on your tastes. Which brings us to the subject of today's video, the 31st Consort. But before we get started, I'd like to quickly ask you to like and subscribe. It really does help the channel, and it's free. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. Waffles waffled back and forth over how soon he wanted me to do this video. Apparently, he's been wanting me to do a video on this manga for a while. Well, I can certainly say it was worth the wait, and I can also see why Waffles loves this manga so much. Allow me to set the scene. The young king of Danon is in the process of choosing his new queen. Tradition dictates that 31 consorts be chosen, and the king will choose from among them, with the help of various elders and close friends. This is a long and drawn-out process with traditions and trappings and customs going back to antiquity. Additionally, even if the king has made his decision, he still has to go through the entire process. Because all of the queen candidates are nobility, and you can't risk angering noble families. The problem is, the process cannot officially begin until all 31 candidates are chosen. Add to the fact that most of the candidates are from high-ranking noble families or even nearby royal families, and the king is forced to play a very delicate balancing game. The biggest help in keeping that balance comes from the fact that each candidate only gets to visit the king on the day of the month that their number is associated with. So the first candidate visits on the 1st, the second on the 2nd, and so forth. The 31st consort can only visit on the 31st day of the month, and in the Kingdom of Danon's calendar, that day only happens every 3 months. And so, because of the imbalance on the calendar, no one wants to be the 31st consort, which means that all the other consorts get to wait around for months until that position is finally filled. But being women who were raised to be shrewd, calculating, and conniving, the rest of the consorts are not just going to wait around. They'll find ways to visit the king. Maybe they'll just happen to be strolling along at the same time he was. Maybe they're visiting someone else in the palace. Whatever the reason, they find ways to ingratiate themselves to his royal majesty. King Macron is sick of these games. He wants a wife, of course. He knows that a king is far stronger with a queen. However, this was supposed to happen when he was the crown prince. That way, he could focus all of his attention on finding the perfect queen, both as a wife for himself and as a queen to stand by him as the ruler of a nation. But then his father suddenly became ill and passed away, making Macron the king at the age of 25. The kingdom was in shambles, and King Macron knew the nation needed time to mourn. The economy also needed time to recover. 4 years later, the consort selection finally began. And after months of searching, the position of 31st consort was filled by the least likely person. Felia is the youngest sister of Ricaro, the Lord of Carodia. Carodia province is famous for two things: fields of medicinal herbs and being in the middle of nowhere. The island province sits atop a steep cliff and is sometimes referred to as the lone island in the sky. Ricaro is very excited to tell his sister that she's been chosen to be the 31st consort, but initially, she could care less. After all, today is their once-a-month potato stew party, so she's far too busy for silly things like a consort selection. Her older brothers eventually convince her that it'll be a good experience, even if there's no chance for her to become the queen. So she decides to view this as a vacation. After all, she only needs to meet with the king every 3 months for a year, right? Maybe this will be fun after all. So, the consort selection is broken up into 2 parts. The first one lasts for 3 months, the second one for 9. After the initial part, about half the consorts are eliminated from the competition. Some drop out themselves, others are forced out. Usually, candidates are forced out because the woman in question cannot stick to the rules. After all, if a queen cannot be trusted to follow basic rules, who knows what kind of international diplomatic incidents she may start in the future? And so, Felia arrives at the capital on an ox-drawn cart with no entourage, fanfare, or even a single servant. After all, she can do everything herself. Why would she need a servant? The knights escort her to her abode, but before they can apologize about the condition of the grounds and how basic the cottage is, Felia exclaims how wonderful everything looks. Especially with how good the soil is. Just think about all the things she can grow. Just as Felia begins to take a closer look at what will be her home for the next year, the housekeeper shows up. This woman is in charge of all the maids in the castle as well as the estates of the 31 consorts. She was just wondering when Felia's maids would be showing up. Felia assures her that it will just be her and not to worry. After all, she's more than capable of taking care of herself. The housekeeper storms off in a huff after Felia refuses to be humiliated. The next day, the knights assigned to guard her gossip about how impressed they were that Felia stood up to that old harpy. As it turns out, none of the knights like that old grouch. After some time passes, the knights guarding the other consorts become jealous of those guarding Felia. Their consorts screech at each other, giving the knights headaches. Meanwhile, the only thing Felia has asked them for is farming equipment and to help out with some chores. She's turned her little area of the state into a garden and spent most of her days growing vegetables and herbs. The first chapter of this series details the first 3 months from Felia's perspective. Chapter 2 details that same time frame from King Macron's perspective. So while we've heard about the machinations of the other consorts as well as the stress the poor king is under, now we actually get to see those events. However, soon Macron meets with Felia, which is a joyous scene that I don't want to spoil. You'll have to read it yourself. The series is released in chapters over on Bookwalker, and you can pick up the first one for free. That's right, free. If you're not convinced after reading the first one, give Chapter 2 a try. I promise you'll enjoy it. Link in the description below. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, there's a link to her Fiverr page below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Muffins, Marcus, Phoenix of Ice, Squishy, Brett, Roxy, Brian, Josh, Sean, Zach, and Alton. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. If you're looking for Commander content, I split my channel last year, so all new Commander videos are over on my other channel, Commander by Danon. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.